All right, it's July 29th, Friday. I'm in Cambodia again, as you can see. I'm actually here at the killing fields, the Choeung one, right by Phnom Penh. I'm gonna check it out and then kind of show you what happened. If you're not aware of the killing fields, basically what it was back in 1975 to 79, there was a man named Pol Pot who kind of took over the government of Cambodia and did a cleansing. They killed about up to 2 million people. About 25% of Cambodia's population was murdered. Men, women, and children were murdered as a cleansing process. It was kind of like this is Cambodia's Holocaust. So I'm at the killing fields of Choeung. This is the outside entrance. So I'm gonna walk inside and walk through. And what I'll do is, there's also a genocide museum I'll probably visit, but this is it. I'll see you inside. So this is a truck stop where everybody was brought in and then just eventually tortured till they admitted to a crime, signed off on it, they were executed for it. When Pol Pot and the army came into Cambodia, within 48 hours, they shut down every school, every building, everything. And within just a few weeks, all the cities were emptied of all the people, and they were sent out to the fields to work. Detention center was built. Most people who were brought in by the trucks were killed that night. After a while, there were so many people that they just couldn't kill them upon arrival that day, were held in this detention center and were just killed the next day or whenever they had time. They didn't want to waste bullets on these people, so what a lot of them did was they were tortured and killed, and kids were just had their heads bashed in, and pretty horrible stuff. But right here, this is where the detention center was, to hold the people they couldn't kill that day, to be killed the next day. This is where the office once stood, where all the executioners stationed. It was kind of an office where they kept meticulous records and names of everybody who was murdered here. Everybody was accounted for. They would bring people out of their prisons, and day and night, this place had electricity back then. They were just killing people just around the clock. People were just ushered out, checked off the list to make sure that nobody had escaped. Once they were killed, they were just thrown into a pit, buried, and another pit was dug for the next batch of people arriving to be killed. It just was going non-stop, 24 hours a day. They were recruiting the people here as young as teenagers to come and join the Khmer Rouge, which was the name of it, of the army, led by Pol Pot. And apparently there was 300 of these sites all over Cambodia found so far. But yeah, the building no longer stands because after the Vietnamese came in and some of their the people who defected stopped this, the Cambodian people were so starving and had nothing that they came back here and just tore everything down that they could use, including this office. Here's where the chemical shack stood, where they kept DDT and lye for the executions. They would put DDT on the bodies to cover up the stench of it, so that nearby workers couldn't smell and wouldn't be aware of what was going on here. They also kept lye, where they put on top of the victims to kill off anybody who was still alive once they buried them. The sugar palm over here, you'll see this tree in front of me. The reason why some of these are missing is if you look up at the actual palms, you'll see those straight, hard razors. Those are actually broken off and used at times to slit people's throats. The reason why they say they did that was when you slit a person's throat deep enough, they can't yell or anything. During the daytime, they would have the generator going with just big, voices, or music playing about revolutionary songs, but at night they blasted them really, really loud too, to cover up the screams and the muffles of people being executed. Over there along the tree line right there is where they separated the prisoners area where I'm at. The actual killing fields are over there. You see that one grave over there that's kind of dug right there where the people are going. Actually had, in that one grave, had, they say, they excavated over 450 bodies just out of that one lot alone. So this is where the tool shed stood, where they kept all the tools for killing, shackles for the prisoners or the people about to be executed, and all the little shovels and all that for digging all the holes. Obviously it's not around anymore, but yeah, this was pretty much their tool sheds where it stood. We just came from over there. This is one of the biggest ones that I was showing you, of a mass grave. This grave right here, according to them, actually had 450 people when they excavated it. And you look in there, you see bracelets, and it's just walking around here, it seems real peaceful, like a beautiful park. You really can't believe what actually happened here in those 4 years. I mean, it looks like something you'd bring your family to and have a picnic. It's so nice, the birds are out, beautiful trees, but in this pit alone there's 450 bodies. They said that when the Vietnamese army and the defectors came in 1979, the mounds were just huge. You just saw these big, huge mounds of dirt, which expanded due to the natural gases released from the decaying bodies. And every so often, it rains here really, really heavily, and it will actually unearth more human remains. So, yeah, it's just weird that I'm just looking down, expecting to see a bone come out, but you'll see all the little holes and all that just scattered around. All the little divvies were once mounds. Right there, they're just everywhere. Mounds were excavated and bodies or remains were out. But this one here had 450 people, just a mass grave, one of the biggest ones here. At the height, they say that up to 300 people were killed a day. They said it was just super efficient. This one, I guess, killing field of Choeung was so efficient that they literally just, it was like, I guess, almost like a slaughterhouse. Literally, it just ran like a well-oiled machine. People were off the truck, most of them were killed that night, you know. Here's a better shot of all those depressions. I mean, they're just scattered all the way out there, all the way across. Each one of these used to be up to 15 feet deep, and every single one was a mass grave. But I guess over time, erosion and rain, they kind of filled in. But yeah, it went in for far. A lot of people wonder, you know, how could the whole world not have known? But the borders between, you know, Vietnam and all that were closed off by landmines. So the only people who were getting in to Cambodia were diplomats. So the outside world had no idea what was going on, of the genocide that was happening here. Because, yeah, you just figure with something like this, how could the world not know and have stepped in? Nobody came into Cambodia. Nobody dared. There was no reason to. Cambodia was kind of cut off from the rest of the world, and this was allowed to happen. This used to be an orchard. A lot of the Cambodian people, I guess, were farmers. Once the Khmer Rouge came in and just took everybody out of the city, anybody who was educated, who spoke a foreign language, or, as I say, had soft hands, they knew they weren't a peasant or a worker, which Pol Pot believed was not a true Cambodian. The true Cambodians were the peasants to them. Anybody who was educated was an enemy. They were just pretty much, once the cities were evacuated in those couple of weeks, they were all sent out to the fields to work 12 hours a day until they literally died, only eating, you know, a couple of bowls of rice soup a day. What he wanted was to triple the rice harvest, which was impossible, and a lot of that was used to sell and to make money or trade with the Chinese for weapons, so he could kind of continue his little rampage. This is a grave of 166 soldiers who were believed to be traitors, and they were actually beheaded. So there was 166 bodies here with their heads cut off. Heads are missing. His Pol Pot became really paranoid and started killing his own people. All it took was one person to question a co-worker, and that was enough to be imprisoned and tortured to admit it. The reason why he beheaded all these of his own soldiers was he said that they had heads of Vietnamese peoples but bodies of Cambodians. So the heads were separated from the bodies, and the bodies were here. 166 headless bodies were excavated out of here, and they were wearing Khmer soldier uniforms, so they were his own people, because around 1978 he got really paranoid and didn't trust anybody, even his own people. After 1980, when the mass graves were exhumed, after heavy rainfalls, things would just come up surface. Like I said, it rains really heavily out here. These are just some of the things that they washed up and found. You can see there's just, kids' clothes from kids that were murdered. You see twine that was probably used to bind people, little strips of fabric that were used for blindfolds, and this is just some of the clothing, I should say, that came up. Bones and all that are somewhere else, but it lets you know how small some of these, look at my hand, how small some of these kids are. Like right there, that pair of pants right there belongs to a kid. And that strip of blue fabric right there, looks like a blindfold, but just some of the clothes that people were wearing when they were murdered. Just some of the stuff that comes up after the heavy rains, and they're still constantly just walking through here every month, collecting bone fragments, teeth, and just ragged clothes that are being washed up from more graves they haven't discovered. Here's another mass grave that they found with 100 bodies in here. In here there was just women and children only were thrown in this pit. Apparently children were killed in front of their mothers, and then the mothers were killed after. Here is a picture of what it looked like during the excavation of 1980. Just at the side is the infamous killing tree. Small children were actually grabbed and swung, and their heads were bashed in on this tree right here, and then right here, and then just simply tossed into the grave. Just a pile. Yeah, soldiers would just pick up. When they found this one, they actually found hair and bone matter and everything stuck onto this tree. And through interrogations with other people, this is it. They would literally just grab the kids, babies, or whatever they could pick up, smash their heads against this tree, then a quick toss over here. So 100 bodies in here, all women and children. This little area is just some bones and teeth and clothes that were also collected after heavy rainfalls after the excavation. There's 2 containers. You can see the clothes and the, looks like just femur bones, leg bones, and lots of teeth. I can actually go around. You can see just teeth. Some were actually pulled out during torture to get people to confess and sign a confession, and once they signed it, they were guilty and then reason to murder. But the reason why they know how many people were killed is because the Khmer Rouge took very meticulous records in the office that I showed you the location of. But here are more bones. And there are just little fragments of teeth and whatnot. You can actually see the tree line right here that runs across, that separated the killing fields where I'm at from the other side where the detention area is. So this is where all the murder happened. This tree right here, I guess, was where they mounted the loudspeaker to muffle the sounds of people just being murdered and executed. Right there, they just hung loudspeakers that, blasted the songs of revolution and all that on this tree. And right next to it was another mass grave where hundreds of bodies came out of this little area. Right here, this little area, right there. But I mean, it's so nice and quiet here. You just can't believe what had happened in this one area. I mean, literally, it's just quiet, nice breeze, cool, beautiful trees, lots of birds singing, and more mass graves. Low depressions. Here's another mass grave, another mass grave. It's a big one right there. Another mass grave here, another mass grave over here. I mean, there's just so many of these mass graves everywhere. And it's a big one right back there. Huge one right here. There's one here, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, and there's another one over there, 7. Just in that one area. Over here, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Here's 10. And these are pieces of bones that were just left in place after the excavation in 1980. Let me give you a look. This is just what it looks like. This is how the body's laid. All the bones. The people that were murdered and just thrown in a pit and buried, covered with DDT and lye. So it just came from there. That's a tree where they hung the loudspeaker, and that's the mass grave over there. There's another mass grave here, and through the erosion, I don't know if you can see, but there's just human bones just sticking out of the ground right here. There's clothes and fabric right there, where just the weather and erosion, just surface bones, you can just see it. You know, over here there's clothing coming up from people, so there's a big bone right there. Looks like right there somewhere. Can't see it through the camera. A really big bone, looks like a leg bone or something. And there's just more clothes over here. Out of this one big pit. Who knows how many bodies are in here. Here's a big temple, a monument they built. They call it a stupor. There are 17 levels in there, and skulls and bones just going way up there. And this is it. Before they were housed somewhere else. We'll go inside in a second and take a look. The first 10 levels hold almost 9,000 skulls just in the first 10 levels, and there's actually a lot more. You look at the skulls, you'll see they're bashed in and all that, and I'll show it to you once we go inside. Okay. You can't even see, it goes way up into the darkness. Looks like a small kid